Many of the advantages associated with GIS are not as well used in South Africa, I believe, as they could be. Here in the United States, if you want to find out about crime, the incidence of crime, you just load up the various bits and pieces that you need to load up the various variables, and you get a very good picture of what's going on. In terms of South Africa, the GIS world is used in a variety of ways, especially in terms of fire management, in forestry, in sugarcane areas. There is a huge project that my sister is involved in land use management around the small town of Howick, which is about 200 kilometers from the seaport of Durban. They have an early warning system out in the forests. They have cameras all over the place, and the moment they see a puff of smoke coming onto the computer screens, they can hone in using GIS to make sure that when the first responders go in, that they are not going to be endangered in any way, that they get good information as to the topography where they're going into, what are the wind patterns they're going into, how valley and mountain winds work, and that can also be illustrated in terms of GIS. Various layers, various queries can be loaded, and it happens in a matter of minutes or seconds. There is quick information. That's one very good example. Another example of GIS is in the mining industry, where you're able to determine where, for instance, coal fields are. But there is a problem with that. Often there are dikes, volcanic dikes, that mask the information, so you go in there and you have to drill, which is very, very expensive. But unless you drill, you're not going to be able to discover what's under the soil. And with a huge reliance on fossil fuels at the moment, we have to find coal reserves. Many of the power stations in South Africa are coal-driven. There's a very large drive to try and export that coal, mostly to Far Eastern countries where they don't really mind about how much pollution is out there. But as a geographer, I'm saddened by that, because surely we can't carry on just pumping gases into the environment that are created by the abuse of fossil fuels. I sometimes travel away from where I live and come back later on, and there is this terrible haze that is created by the pollutants in the area. In any direction, a 50 kilometer, maybe 75 mile radius of where I live, there are in the region of 12 power stations. And the gas emissions, there are thousands upon thousands of tons of carbon dioxide that gets into the atmosphere, greenhouse gas. And I'm able to say to people, hang on, we can't carry on doing this. The incidence of lung disease is increasing, the incidence of situations where people are misinformed, and they just carry on and they just carry on. Economics is a big thing. You don't start a business because you like people. You start a business because you want to make money. And as a geographer, once again, I'm saying, what are we doing to make people aware of these things? We have environmental days. We have Save the Water Foundation. We have all these great foundations, and they're doing a great deal of work out there to make people aware of things. But if I've got a 9-to-5 job where I get on a train in the morning, I go into the center of New York, I do what I have to do, I leave. Yes, there's a lot of tragedy in New York. 911, all of these things, I've been to those places. And it's important that we look at heritage and what we can do differently. But are we really doing as much as we could be doing for the environment, as we could be doing to manage the urban areas better, to manage the rural areas better? And I don't think we are. And that's the role of the geographer, to get out there and say to people, hold on, we can't keep living like this. Yes, we've got the metro. Yes, we've got the underground in England. And it's a marvelous system. But does the average man or woman out there care? I don't think they do, because they don't think geography, and they don't realize that everything we do is interconnected in some way from a geographical point of view.